Well, a new report from the Washington Post uncovered an alarming string of newborns being abandoned across the Houston area. Some experts point to the state's near total abortion ban. Molly Hennessy-Fiske is the Washington Post reporter covering the story. She is in the Houston area and joining us live. Molly, we thank you for taking some time out to talk with us today.
Thanks for having me.
You know, first, I want you to tell us about some of the cases of these babies being found.
Well, like you mentioned, we've had a spate of babies being found, about a half a dozen that kind of peaked over the summer in the Houston area. But we've also had a lot statewide, a lot more than we saw, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So the numbers have certainly gone up, and it's raising questions about what the contributing factors might be. Obviously, there's a lot, but the state of women's health care in Texas, women's reproductive health care in particular, and reproductive rights is something that when I talked to experts and advocates, they brought up and kept returning to.
Yeah. One of the things that really stood out to me is, again, some of these babies being found in ditches, babies being found, in places they're not being surrendered. Again, we want to point out being abandoned and not surrendered, right? And the numbers is more than double, right?
That's right. And you make a really important point, which is that Texas was the first state to have a safe surrender law, to pass a law that makes it legal to safely surrender a baby at a fire station or other sites, chiefly fire stations. And as you can see, there's some signs, but there's not a lot of awareness, in particular awareness in English, but also other languages in communities. And so some of the folks I talked to, including one of the mothers who did abandon her baby next to a dumpster, were unaware of these laws, unaware that they could surrender a baby without facing any kind of prosecution or investigation. And so a lot of the folks I talked to said there needs to be more awareness, like there is in other states, state-funded awareness campaigns so that people know what their rights are.
Yeah. One of the things, since we're talking about it, we ought to be talking about that law. People able to abandon those unharmed newborns within the first 60 days of that baby being born. And it's really rare that it's ever done, even though this law was passed, some 25 years ago.
That's right. And I went out and talked to firefighters, one young firefighter who said he'd been called to a number of babies abandoned in dumpsters in his 2.5 years as a firefighter, but they'd never found a baby that was alive, and they'd never had a baby surrendered when he was on duty at his fire station in Houston.
That is such a hard thing to hear. Talk to us then. You mentioned that experts you talked to said there are a number of factors that they think are contributing to this increase. What are some of those factors?
Well, Texas's situation for women in terms of healthcare is pretty dire. We have the most uninsured folks in the country overall, but then also the most uninsured women, and a lot of those women are low-income women who have difficulty finding health care on their own. There's a lot of women who don't speak English, who are afraid maybe to go to clinics. The woman I talked to said she didn't receive any prenatal care before she abandoned her baby because she's an immigrant from Guatemala and was afraid to go to a clinic or hospital because she thought she might get deported or detained. Governor Abbott has directed state hospitals to record the number of undocumented immigrants that they treat and the cost of treating them, and that has stirred fear in a lot of immigrant communities about going and seeking medical care. So there's certainly a lack of resources in a state that has more than $32 billion budget surplus, as well as a rainy day fund that rivals a lot of the total state budgets of other states. So there's a lot of money. And I even talked to Republican local lawmakers here in the Houston area who said they wish the state would spend at least some money on awareness campaigns in English and Spanish to let people know that they can they can surrender babies at fire stations, and that there are also some of these safe haven baby boxes that have been installed in Abilene, Lubbock, and then they're getting ready to install one in the Woodlands north of Houston.
Yeah, that part of the law, that expansion of the Baby Moses law passing just last session with lawmakers. Well, interesting to see. They hope that happens. The legislative session getting ready to start in a few weeks, and certainly we'll see if some bills like that get filed. Molly Hennessy-Fiske with the Washington Post, we thank you so much for taking some time out to talk with us today.
Thanks for having me.